LL-37 mechanism of action. So LL-37 is a cathelicidin. It's an antimicrobial peptide that's made by your body. What does it do and why does it matter? Well, in this video, we'll uncover some of the benefits of LL-37, what your body does with it, when it is so important to have it there, what happens if it's overexpressed, some of the concerns, some of the safety profiles on it. We'll cover all in this video. And if you enjoy this material, share the channel with somebody you love. And I appreciate all the feedback, your comments. We do read as many of those as possible. So LL-37. What is this? Well, LL-37, it fits in this family of peptides called antimicrobial peptides. If you think about your body's immune system, when you have these invasions, we'll call them pathogens, you have a bacterial infection or a viral infection, or God forbid you get Lyme or long COVID, these species want to do, these invasive species, is they want survival, and so they build these biofilms. And in order for your immune system to get to that infectious agent, these biofilms can cause confusion. They send signals that allow them to have some level of protection. But what LL-37 does is it's one of the peptides that your body makes to break through these biofilms and isolate and eradicate whatever that invasive species is. It calls in the macrophages. It's basically like a private detector who's able to analyze where these camps are, where the pockets of infections are, and it brings in the police force to pull them out. So it's a very interesting peptide. LL-37 is something that has been studied for about 25 years now. Here's one of the studies that was done out of the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada, and it was done in 2002, and the title of this study is Human Antimicrobial Peptide, LL-37, is a multifunctional modulator of innate immune responses. And the study was done where researchers were testing LL-37 on macrophage cells, and they're seeing how it stimulated LPS, or lipopolysaccharides, lipoteaconic acid, and other bacterial products to assess the inhibition of pro-inflammatory cytokine production and modulation of chemokine receptors. So that was a mouthful. But what they found is, yes, they had the untreated and the bacterial product only. Once again, they're looking at lipopolysaccharides. Their conclusion was that LL-37 inhibits macrophage pro-inflammatory responses to bacterial components like LPS while upregulating chemokine receptors to recruit immune cells, revealing its dual antimicrobial and immunomodulatory roles without harming the host cells. So this is why we call this the silent assassin. And my son Jonah made these cool peptide cards, and it's got like the samurai, and they just call it the silent assassin because when your body has adequate expression of LL-37, it can go in and deploys itself as this sole antimicrobial agent where it can zero in on those things that are no longer helpful when it comes to infections. It breaks through those biofilms, whether it's bacterial, fungal, or viral membranes, almost like a heat-seeking missile. Some of the interesting things is, if you look at the world of antimicrobials, we are becoming more and more antibiotic resistant, and there's not a lot of research that's going into antibiotics, at least that I've seen, because antibiotics are this kind of short-term use of a drug, and then you don't need it anymore. And pharmaceutical companies, like any other business, they're driven by what are the things that are going to lead to long-term profits. And that's where medication to manage chronic disease gets far more emphasis versus some of these nuanced antibacterial, antifungal drugs. So where does LL-37 fall into it? Well, another company out of Toronto, Canada, they were rewarded a large grant, $50 million several years ago, to uncover if LL-37 had the potential to replace some of these antimicrobial agents. And while the evidence, we're still waiting on more of the human data to come out, just in theory, LL-37 seems to have some real benefits. Now, cathelicidin, that's classified in that category of peptides, but it means universal destroyer. But the interesting thing about it is, yes, it's a silent assassin, but it's also compassionate because LL-37 also can help prevent the buildup of scar tissue. It regenerates areas that have had infections in it. In one study, they looked at burns and what would happen if LL-37 was used where there was burns on skin. And they found that the skin regenerated faster. You didn't have the same kind of scar tissue. There was less infections, which meant faster progression and shorter recovery time. So LL-37, it's very interesting, but the way that it works is it binds to endotoxins and then it modulates the toll-like receptors. And there's other videos. If you'd like to see my videos on thymosin alpha-1, we'll provide a link in the show notes, but these toll-like receptors, similar to thymosin alpha-1, they are modulating the immune response so that, just like the study I referenced earlier, instead of having the pro-inflammatory macrophage activation, where your body just really feels rough when you get sick. And if you've ever experienced that kind of interferon flush, when you've got the flu and your joints ache and all the old injuries show up, well, LL-37's, it doesn't have that same kind of upset to the system. The way that it compassionately signals assassinate, it flips the regenerative mode. So similar to like GHK copper and activating the collagen synthesis, also activating the elastin production, this creates better tissue remodeling. And so it's almost like LL-37's like a medic on the battlefield that can go in and help your body recover. If you think of one of the big issues with LPS or lipopolysaccharides, that's one of the diagnostic tools you can use to see if you've got these endotoxins from bacteria that start circulating in the blood. And that's a condition that many people call leaky gut syndrome or intestinal permeability, where these tight gap junctions start to have inflammation that drives that seal apart. And that's where you can get undigested proteins and the lipopolysaccharides, or these bacterial structures that wreak havoc on the body. That's where a lot of the inflammation comes from, and this causes an overdrive. So one of the things that you look at with LL-37 is, well, first of all, how do you correct this immune response? If you want to get proper expression of LL-37, you need immunomodulation. This is where like thymosin beta-4, thymosin alpha-1, that can be helpful. Cordyceps, astragalus, these are a couple of herbal formulas. Turkey tail, these are great for immunomodulation. And then the other thing you look at is doing a stool test, because in your stool, then you can see how well are you breaking down proteins. Do you have enough short chain fatty acids for your bacteria to feast on? Are you actually breaking down the fats, or is there fecal matter with undigested fats in it? And we see this a lot in patients who do stool testing. We also find that there's a pathway called beta-glucuronidase that shows why you may not be responding to hormone replacement therapy, or why your hormones may be skewed. It might be because your body's gut is not breaking them down. And so this is where like calcium D-glucarate is a great way to open up that beta-glucuronidase pathway. We also look at pathogenic yeast, bacterial overgrowth, any kind of eosinophil activity. So we'll look at the calprotectin, we'll look at eosinophil X, we'll look at your SIGA responses in the gut. But all those things are really important, because if you can fix the entire terrain, like Louis Pasteur said, it is passing, it's the terrain, it's not the antimicrobial agent. That's where LL-37, where you can express this peptide so that it shines. And that's really the benefit of the peptides, is going deeper into your body, seeing how they can work in harmony as signaling medicine. That's the medicine of the future, is how can we get your body to send the right signal at the right time so that your cells can continually regenerate. And that's how you can look, feel, and perform your best at any age. I'm Regan Archibald. I appreciate you joining me on this journey. For those of you who want to look at your gut tests, look at your blood labs, really go deeper with an advanced medical team who provides world-class service, go to agelessfuture.com, talk to one of my health ascension specialists, and they'll get the right tests with the medical team for you. I'm excited to work with you. See you on the next video. I'm Regan Archibald.